going on YouTube? Andrew Huang here again for LPX Tech, and welcome to my 1 week full non-technical review of the Samsung Galaxy S6 Edge, or technically speaking the S6 because they're the same phone at the end of the day. But what I mean by non-technical is pretty much as it states. So unlike the other review channels out there, I am not going to sit here and pretty much reiterate what they said about specs, performance, RAM, storage, capability, screen pixel size, clarity, and all that stuff. There's been plenty of videos on those aspects, so today I want to sit and focus on actually what's it like owning it. So things like functionality, how does it work, how does it feel, is the Edge better than the regular phone, or should I just ignore it? Questions like that I'm going to answer today, hopefully for you. And by the end of this video, the people I'm trying to answer questions for are the people who are considering either upgrading to the device from their previous phone, buying it outright, or transferring from a different line or carrier or a different phone, let's say from the iPhone or an LG, over to the Samsung S6, and you just want to see if it's worth it or not. And you know what, guys, I'm going to come out of the gate and say it right now. So other than having a pretty much similar interface to the other Android phones out there, because at the end of the day, guys, think about it, all phones pretty much operate the same way. Whether you're on an Apple, HTC, or Samsung, you literally turn it on, scroll side to side, choose an app, and get in it. Now that's the really high level and not the really detailed version of it, but overall that's how they all work, so there's no need to go over that aspect of the phone. But I do want to focus on what unique features that this phone actually offers you. So number one, guys, as you can already see, it's on a wireless charge pad right now, and it is charging. I'm going to show you guys. It is charging right now on the charge pad. No cables attached or whatsoever. And for those of you who don't know, the phone came in with built-in capabilities that are compatible with wireless charging pads. So whether you have one at home already or in your car like Cadillac has started doing, you can go ahead and start utilizing those wireless base chargers. Now, is this a gimmick or is it actually pretty convenient? It's a little bit of both, because do you really need this? No. But does it make it easier? And I want to say yes to that, because I used this for a week because I took it from my girlfriend. But during the week I had it, I'll pretty much put it this way. When you wake up in the morning and you grab your phone, how many of you have gotten tangled with the cord or found the cord annoying? Or let's reverse it, when you're going to bed, how annoying is it to find the cable, plug it in, especially if you're really tired and stuff, or you're just out of it. And sometimes you just forget to plug it in all the way. So sometimes, like, you plug it in and, oh, I forgot to flip the switch, or it's not plugged in all the way. Ton of issues. This wireless charging pad has made it very convenient for me to get it charged, because I literally wake up, grab it, and go. There's no unplugging. And that unplugging motion, yes, it's only a split second, but you know what? That's extra time. I don't know. In my mind, it was like, oh, I don't need to unplug it. And the same thing at nighttime. I come home straight away. I'm about to go to bed. I just put on the pad and go to rest. And folks, after using it for about a week, I'm actually kind of sad that I have to go back to my Note 4 and go back to having to plug it in, because it is a little annoying. And that's really interesting, because year over year, these companies are releasing new products and new technologies and new hardware pieces that do different things. And even things like on a smartwatch, getting your notifications on it. A lot of you might say, that's not a big deal for me. But once you get a smartwatch and you get used to getting the notifications on your wrist, all of a sudden having to go to your phone and opening up those notifications become annoying. They become tedious. It was like pretty much back in the day when we had the text keyboards, and then Apple came out, and you're like, why do I want to use a touchscreen? I love keys better. How quickly did that change? And it's the same thing with this. Like, it's small. It's a gimmick. It's something really stupid, you might say. But you know what? I'm glad I have it. Now, I got this charge pad for free because I pre-ordered it for my girlfriend because it's technically her phone. But I'm glad we got it. I actually went out and ordered a second one for her so she can have one at work, so she wouldn't have to worry about carrying it around with her or having to worry about carrying the cable around with her. So now she can just literally go home, put it down, or go to work and put it down, and it'll be fully charged. So what's another thing that both models offer you? The one cool thing that I really liked is the instant camera function. Once again, another stupid gimmick and function, but very useful. So literally, what's cool about this is the camera is always constantly running in the background. You may argue that that's taking up unnecessary RAM, but pretty much put it this way: no matter what, if let's say your screen's off, you just simply double tap the home button, loads up the camera. Or even better, let's say You're texting and you're walking, all of a sudden you see something really cool, double tap, camera appears right away. That's very awesome, because think about it. How many of you always walk around with just your phone in your hand? Or are you doing something else? Or if you have a significant other, if you're holding hands and you get your phone out, you want to take a picture, you have to let go, swipe open the screen, then choose a camera button, and then open it up and then take a picture. With this thing though, it's literally, you pull it out, double tap, selfie cam is already on, cheese, voice command works, it takes the picture. Done. Like, that's how awesome it is. This also makes photobombing people a little bit easier, I say. Now, quickly, before you guys ask me, oh, does it always do the 3, 2, 1 countdown? No, it does the 3, 2, 1 countdown for the selfie images, but when you're doing far shots, so I'm gonna take a picture of the charge base. So let's do it again. I'm gonna walk around, photobomb, cheese, takes the picture. Done. And you can actually associate different words to it too, so I believe. I haven't really played around with it yet. But guys, while I'm on the camera, I'm gonna go ahead and roll over. Here's a couple of videos that I took with the rear camera and the front-facing camera. Now here's the video at its highest setting at technically 3K. So it says UHD, but here's the video. Obviously there's no image stabilization and I'm doing my best to walk forward. I'll have a zoomed in version down here somewhere so you can see the clarity, but there you go, folks. And here's what the front-facing camera looks like. So I'm assuming it's pretty clear. There's no image stabilization at least, but I mean, just from what I can see on the screen, it looks like it's recording it pretty nice and clear there. So there's the selfie cam for you. I thought the camera on my Note 4 was good, but I was definitely impressed with the S6's image quality, because it is better, folks. I can tell you that right now. Now, I'm not a photographer, so I can't list off numbers for you and everything, but I can tell you this, guys, right now, it's definitely clearer, just from the naked eye, just looking, comparing apples to apples. But to warn you video takers, if you take it in higher resolution, it will take up more memory per second and per minute, so just be warned. So let's pull back from functionality for a bit and talk about how it feels to have it and it's in your hand. I can tell you right now, the S6, the normal one, will feel fine. It's just going to feel thinner. It's going to feel right at home. But the S6 Edge, this is the one I have right now here, you can see the curved screen, is going to take some time getting used to. I can tell you right now, it took me about a few days to get used to the feel of it. But once I did, I really didn't have too many complaints about it. A lot of people who I give this to, and they put it on, their instant reaction is, oh, it feels too thin. They're saying it's too thin. But that's what they're feeling like. But all of them, every single one of them agreed that they can see themselves using it or having it and getting used to it. And I pretty much have. I mean, a lot of people who got the Note Edge when that came out earlier this year, people got used to it. I mean, a lot of people who complained about it initially, they never owned it. They only talked about initially holding it and everything. But it's just a different feel. It's pretty much just like when we went from flip phones to just, you know, these screen phones. When the iPhone came out and stuff, people thought it was weird. A lot of people argued that they would never abandon their flip phone. Look at the market today. I mean, but guys, the phone feels extremely light. It's not too heavy. It feels good in the hand. And you know what? I'm actually digging the glass finish that they put instead of a metal backing. Now, that's just a personal preference. There may be people out there who prefer the metal backs and stuff like the iPhones is. But at the end of the day, guys, 99% of you, I always say this, are going to get a case for these phones. Whether you're an Apple user, HTC, Samsung, whatnot, that argument about material becomes void because you're going to put a case on it for 2 years. You're never going to feel it, so I don't want to hear it. But for the 5% of you who actually are like me, who don't carry a case around, I personally like this feeling. I actually like the leather pleather feeling on my Note 4 better. But I got used to this. I mean, this wasn't too bad to use. And since I just mentioned my Note 4, you guys can definitely see the size difference. The Note 4 is definitely bigger. It's a bigger screen. But more importantly, it is actually thicker than the S6 Edge. So for those of you who are thinking about getting the Note 4 or already have it and thought that the Note 4 was slim, the S6 and the S6 Edge definitely beats it in that area. It just feels smaller, because I can tell you this right now, I picked up my Note 4 for the first time after this, you know, this past week, and it feels big. It really does. It feels fat too. Like I'm like, this is too thick. This is pretty much the initial reaction that anyone has to these phablet phones, because they all pretty much say, oh, it's too much big. But I'm telling you right now, I've had the Note 4 since it first came out. I got used to it. it pretty much got to the point where I thought the Note 4 was too small. I actually wanted a bigger screen and everything. I didn't think it was that thick until I've been using the S6, and so it's all perception. So here's my quick comparison on the Note 4 and the S6 Edge. Both feel great. I mean, I still personally will go with the Note 4. I like watching videos and playing my apps on a proper big screen. And screen quality, guys, they're both Quad HD. They both have the same resolution, but the S6 Edge has tighter pixel density because at the end of the day, guys, it's a smaller screen, so they can shrink it a little bit better. That's going to be good for the Gear VR, which is a whole nother video that's going to be coming out in the future once that actually comes out. But while we're on the subject of looks, how does the S6 Edge compare to the S6? I'll pretty much put it this way, guys. If you can get the S6 Edge, get it. Because you know what? It's a very unique design compared to the other phones out there. Because there's no other phone out there right now with a curved display like this. Technically speaking, the LG G Flex does, but they're going about that a whole different way. Every person that I've shown this phone to, whether at work, friends, church, friends or family, their instant reaction to the curved display is like a ooh. You notice it. You cannot not notice it because the screen wraps around. So their eyes are just like, everyone's just awed by it. And I would say 8 out of 10 are like, this is awesome. The other two, the handful of folks were like, it's cool, but they didn't really care because they just don't care. But it has that wow factor. But is that curved display useless? Is it just a gimmick? No. And once again, they throw a gimmick and actually put functionality to it to actually make it useful. So the first thing I want to point out is actually swiping from side to side, the screens. I'll pretty much put it this way. When you swipe side to side on a regular phone, you kind of have to go through, you hit your edge typically. You hit the edge of the phone all the time, so you're always grinding against it. But when I got the S6 Edge, and I started doing the same thing, you never hit the edge because you're hitting the curved part, and your finger just slides smoothly across the screen. The best way I can describe it is just smooth. It's just a smooth interaction, no intrusion, and it just feels very, very comfortable to use. Now, one of the cool things that the Edge screen does for you is they added this little function where you swipe the little tab on the top, where you swipe out, and you get 5 contacts that you customize yourself. And these are your top 5. You can have it for whoever. I have my mom, my dad, my girlfriend, and my 2 best friends that are on here. Those are the people that I talk to most. And pretty much anytime I get a call, text, or notification, their respective colors are pretty much glowing on the side and let me know. And I simply just swipe over to see if it was a missed call or text, and I can respond right to them. But the fact that I don't have to open up contacts and search their name, pretty much I'll put it this way, let me find my dad. So I had to open up contacts, scroll down to D, and then open it up to get there. Instead, I can just simply swipe across, point at my dad, and there we go. I can either call or text him. Simple. And it's so convenient. And quickly, before I forget to mention, you can switch the functionalities to be either on the right side or the left side. So if you're right-hand dominant or left-hand dominant, it won't matter. So you can go ahead and customize that. So another cool function of the Edge display is the side menus. So let's say we're in YouTube. We're going to go ahead and try to open up the side window. So you have to hit that little button to bring out the menu and to scroll side to side. But what's cool about the Edge display on these apps now is you can just simply swipe over and it'll be there. So no need to bring your thumb up. You just simply swipe. And that to me is actually a fast interaction. And it's cool. I'm glad that they had the foresight to add that. Alright guys, so one last thing I forgot to add in about the Edge display is the actual Edge display. Because when the phone's off, and you can specify certain time periods, but it's going to have this low lit pretty much display screen, and it'll act like a clock. So if you have it sitting down, you can just take a look at it and it'll act like a clock there. But what else you can do is while it's off and you're not interrupting the main screen is just swipe your finger back and forth, and it's gonna go ahead and bring up this thing. And you go ahead and swipe through and it brings up different data feeds. So sports, stock symbols, and whatnot, different news highlights. You can go and cycle through, and you can go ahead and customize this. And I found this really cool because let's say you're in the train or you're just, you don't want to disturb a lot of people. You can simply just do this and get your quick information. And this is especially good for those of you who are thinking about getting a case for this device. Because now you can just go ahead and use it sort of like in the old school beepers and pagers. So that's really neat. And one other thing that I want to talk about this clock is, and I know a lot of you have this issue as well, is when you wake up and you use your phone as your alarm, how many of you find it annoying to pick up your phone, turn it on, and have to look at it to see what time it is? That's annoying. What I found out with this past week with this display is I just simply roll over, look at it, and I know what time it is. There's no need for me to turn it on. It's not consuming a lot of power. And trust me, when it's dark, it's bright enough. It's such a small thing that I really grew to appreciate, and I think a lot of you will as well. So I want to tell you guys right now, obviously the viewing experience, it's definitely bigger on the Note 4. It's got a bigger screen and everything. And as you can see when you're looking at it, you see a clearly defined edge and border on the video screen. Which is fine. It's actually really nice to watch on the Note 4. But when you're watching on the S6 Edge, it almost seems like it's borderless depending on what angle you're viewing it, because it just wraps around. And it's really hard to describe, especially since you're watching it through a digital video here. You have to see yourself in person. Just go to your local electronics store or phone store and see if they have it in, and play around with YouTube or something, and just take a look at the videos. It's a very unique twist to it, and I can see why some of the TV makers were going for like a borderless image, just because it was a very unique way to view the videos. And I actually really appreciate that. I've actually gotten used to it. And I just recently opened up my Note 4 again because this is coming back to me. And I was like, oh, I kind of wish this had the curved display. So the Note 5 people, hopefully. So everything else like NFC, Wi-Fi Direct, all the Android stuff, Lollipop 2 is in there. Sorry. So everything else like, you know, NFC, Wi-Fi Direct, and the new Lollipop OS, it's all in there. Pretty much compared to all the other phones, it's got the same apps, same everything else, but it just got these extra functions on top of it. But quickly, one thing towards the hardware piece and the performance piece, I can tell you this, guys, right now, I've experienced zero lag. Now, you still have to manage your programs, you remember to close them, but I loved how the interface reacts very quickly, and I appreciate the fact that they've downed TouchWiz on it. You can actually have the option to turn it off, but I've experienced almost zero issues with it. For those of you who have had Samsung phones, TouchWiz was a bit annoying because it did lag the system a lot over time, and it still lags my Note 4 to this date. But I was really happy to see how smooth the phone really worked, especially a lot of the games I was playing. I did some Google Cardboard apps on it. It ran just fine. So I'm very happy with the performance that it is. I mean, I'll pretty much put it this way, guys. They have to improve it year over year because they're trying to get more and more ambitious with these apps and what they want the phones to do. So that entails more power. So that's going to come naturally every year. Now let's talk about battery life, because I know that's an important thing for a lot of you. And I can tell you this right now, it actually lasts really well. It lasted me an entire day, and I went a day without my Gear S again, so just pure smartphone use. And it lasted a good solid day, because I leave my house around 5:30 in the morning, and I come back typically by 6:30, 7 o'clock, and I came back to roughly about a 30-40% charge. In my mind, that's a pretty decent day, and that's with fair, moderate use. Now, if you have a smartwatch, whether it's a Samsung, Android Wear, whatsoever, that's going to extend the battery life even more significantly because you're not picking it up as oftenly. But that's just a suggestion of mine. But for those of you who are heavy users and you're going to be worried about, oh, but now I have to charge it, them marketing the whole fast charging is no joke. Because I come home and it's at 30-40%. I plug it in, go use the bathroom, come back, grab a quick drink, and it's almost fully charged. Like, it's ridiculous how fast this thing charges now. And I know that's a lot of concern for some people, but you're only going to be using the phone for 1 year, 2 years max, and then getting rid of it for most of you. And I can tell you right now, that's awesome. That's very convenient. Now, when it's on the wireless charge pad, it charges a lot slower because it's not using that fast cable connection. It's only when you plug it in with the actual cable that they provide you that it charges that fast. So it's give and take on that aspect. But let's talk about some of the cons. I mean, since I just mentioned batteries, let's go ahead and talk about some cons of the phone. And one con is the removable battery. Now, that wasn't a big deal to me or to a lot of you, for those, especially for those who just typically recycle phones every year. But there's actually people out there who buy these phones secondhand on the secondary market, and they want the ability to go ahead and replace the batteries. Hell, there's people who carry around spares because they don't want to have to carry around additional cables and stuff. So there are those people. And the one thing that I'll give Samsung credit for, yes, they're following the mainstream with built-in batteries and everything, but compared to Apple, so let's say you buy this phone 2 years down the line and the battery has lost charge. So they cover the battery for the first year. So if it loses 80% charge in the first year, they'll replace it for free. But let's say it's after that. You bought it 2 years later. you bought it off eBay or something, and you need to get the battery replaced. Well, compared to Apple, where they apparently charge you $100, according to the article that I read, Samsung will only charge you anywhere from $30 to $50. The prices vary on the blogs, but anywhere from $30 to $50 is what they're going to charge you for shipment and replacement of the batteries. So, in my mind, that's not a bad deal, because these batteries are pretty pricey if you try to buy them separately on the side. But another advantage to having it built in, and I could be wrong on this, but this is just my assumption, they don't pretty much have to sacrifice space in order to, incorporate it, and also incorporate a removable back to it. Because now they can go ahead and slowly just integrate to the entire system, and that way they can make it thinner. That's just my assumption. I could be wrong. But the whole point of the removable back was not only for the battery, but the removable SIM card. And that was a big issue for myself as well, because I didn't like paying $100, $200 more just to get double or triple the memory. I like the fact that I can go off to eBay, buy a 120 gigabyte memory card for $40, $50, put into my Note 4 or my S3, my S4, and have an uber amount of storage space for my music and media. The fact that they got rid of that and pretty much follow the ways of the other phone makers and pretty much having you pay for the predetermined memory slots is a little annoying. And I do understand that there's cloud storage. Everything is about the cloud, the cloud, the cloud. I'm yay and nay on it. I'm not personally that's a whole nother topic for another day. But you shouldn't have to rely on that, because a lot of people may not have access to the cloud all the time. Put it this way, for those of you who travel a lot on airplanes, you don't have access to the cloud on an airplane, and you pretty much only have access to the internal memory. I mean, and I know there's planes with Wi-Fi's coming in right now, but the most of you. But the one thing that Samsung did nice for everyone, even if you get the base 32 gig model, you get 100 gigabytes of cloud storage space through their the cloud storage. They offer you that with the purchase of the S6 device. So that's really nice of them. If they're going to give you cloud storage, they better give you a lot. And this is what they actually did. Now, another reasoning to this madness was the rep was trying to talk to me about it. It is actually for the Gear VR. And that can be argued as well. But the whole purpose of an app being directly installed into the solid state drive of a computing device or the phone is because it can load faster, boot faster, and run more efficiently than having to go through a slower SIM card. And because it is true, the memory speed on the SIM card compared to the new memory that they have internally in here, the numbers are very different. And for those of you who are Note 4 owners and have the Gear VR, most of you have probably noticed that when you install a new app, it installs directly into the phone storage instead of the SD card, and that's because of its performance issues. It's not done accidentally, it was been done purposely. But whether or not that actually plays a factor, we're going to have to wait until I get my hands on the new Gear VR and test it out for myself. Now, before you go ahead and start hating down, in the comment board, one thing that they are going to do, it's pretty much confirmed at this point because they did it with the S4 and S5, they're going to relieve an active model. Pretty much, it's going to be durable, waterproof, and they're already saying that it's going to have removable battery and SD card. Because what I've noticed with Samsung, and probably a lot of you have probably noticed too, is they're very reactive. They'll release a flagship device or an awesome product that has flaws, or they're like, this is going to piss people off, but let's see how much it pisses them off. And they'll do it. They'll get feedback, and they're like, well, here's the S6 Active. And they did it with the first Samsung watch, because when it came out, it was the Gear. And not like 3-4 months later, oh, we've released the Gear 2 with all this extra stuff and fluff, and it runs better. And then they immediately got pushback. It was too expensive, so they cut $100 off and made a Gear 2 Neo. And they're like, that's still too expensive, so we made a Gear Fit. And they released 4 different watches, actually 5, because they're like, people will complain about Android Wear, so they busted out an Android Wear one. And they pretty much made 5 smartwatches in less than 6 months. It was ridiculous. But that's the type of company they are, at least, what I've observed from them. They're very reactive. Because even with the Note 4, I don't know if they flew kind of under the radar, but come January, they released a whole entire new version of the Note 4 that ran more efficiently. So I was kind of bummed. I was like, really? But that's the type of company they are. So you can hate them for it, or you can love them for them. So, yeah. So what's my verdict on the phone, guys? Get it. I'll put it this way, if your 2-year contract is up and you're due for an upgrade, get this phone if you're thinking about it. Because you know what? Right now, currently, it's the best phone out in the market. Aside from user interface of the OSs and everything, but in my opinion, from aesthetics, visual, style, performance, everything, this phone pretty much takes the cake in the smartphone segment. The phablet section is a whole different ballgame. Let's say you're in the middle of your contract and you're thinking about upgrading. So you have the S5 and you want all the extra perks and stuff. Wait a year. I know that's blasphemy for to say, but just wait another year for the S7. Because I can guarantee you that edge display is going to get bigger or more functional. The screen is going to be better. And the difference you see from the S5 and the S6 is going to be pennies compared to when it's the S5 versus the S7. And there are already rumor mills going on about what the S7 is going to be. So honestly, guys, if you're in the middle of your contract, just hold off and wait. There's no need to change your phone. The S5 is still a good phone. My parents have it, and they're perfectly happy with it. Actually, my aunt still uses the S4, and she's like, I don't need to get rid of this. So, I mean, they're perfectly happy with the devices, and so should you. If you're solely waiting so you can get the Gear VR, then get it. I mean, I don't know what you're waiting for on that aspect, but definitely hold off on that. And if you're an iPhone user considering coming over to Samsung or Android in general, this might be the phone to do it. Because number one, it's finally a unique design that's being pushed. Yeah, as you can kind of say, knocked off the bottom here of Apple and everything. I'm just going to let that one slide. But this is the phone to really come over, because I feel like this is the benchmark. And once again, I'm not a Samsung fanboy. I follow the companies that innovate and push the technologies further. Because let's say if Motorola came out first with the first smartwatch or the displays and stuff, I'd be doing their stuff right now. I would have gotten their phone before I started making this channel. And I have seen, and I know you guys have probably seen it too, there's a ton of comparisons with the M8, G3, all these other flagship phones and everything. But at the end of the day, this is the newest one. It has the highest specs on all the pretty much the majority of the scales. This is the one to do it with, folks. Now, if you stuck through to this point of the review, thank you very much. I really appreciate your time. But the point of this review was not to pretty much sell you on the device. I just did my best to pretty much educate you on the device. There's really no need to know about the performance if you're not into that stuff, because 99% of you out there are just getting these phones because you're just getting them, or your friends have it, you're following the social norm. And I just want to educate you on how it is on a day-to-day, how it is to use it, how it is to own it. So hopefully I've done my job. If you have any additional questions or concerns, because I know I've missed a lot of them, and I did that with my Gear S video too. I did a 40-minute review on that one before, and I ended up making like 20-30 other videos following up on that, because there's so many more questions out there, so many more how-tos and setting it up in different functions that I'd be more than happy to make. So please go ahead and leave a comment down below, and I'll be more than happy to respond to you, and number two, even make a video on it. And before you leave, if you haven't already done so, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button for more content, as well as to join the ever-growing community that we're growing here. And also, if you can please leave a thumbs up or a thumbs down, let me know if you liked or disliked this video. That'd be very much appreciated. If I don't see you guys in the next video, thank you for stopping by. I'm just thankful you actually stuck through this portion of the video. But hopefully, guys, I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.